Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to week 7, module 14, working with a buyer, part 2. It was certainly interesting to watch Brian do his thing with his buyer. And so let's just check in a little bit from last week. How did your calls go last week? Did you have a chance to get some caught up, or it's been pretty busy this summer?
I made one call.
Good. Well, hey, one is better than how'd it go?
It went well. They're happy in their home right now, but you know, they see how crazy the market is and they can't believe what their house is worth from where they bought it. So we'll see if they have any change of heart and time, but they were happy to know I was doing the real estate gig and told me they'd keep me in mind. So that's all we can ask for with that meritorial thing. So
what about the qualifying? Are you guys having any challenges with qualifying people, getting them their commitment? Was that a hard conversation? Or are you finding it your script is coming easily to you yet?
I find that it is easier with some people than others. A lot of people really just love to talk about themselves and don't always ask, how are you or what are you up to? So that's always, you don't want to plug when they're not even concerned. So that's my biggest challenge, is a lot of kind of I don't want to say self-absorbed, but definitely self-reflective people that are caught up. So
yeah. And you kind of have to be creative in those situations to bring the conversation back around to business and, how's the job and all that kind of thing. So you can both talk about the job, or, because it's especially hard, I found, with friends. And so when I get into the conversation with my good friends, that we can shoot the breeze all day long, right? But when I start talking about how's work going, things going, how are things coming back after COVID? Are people coming back to work? You feel comfortable? And they say, yeah, we've seen a little bit of that in our business. People, our rules have finally changed. And by the way, if anybody happened to need real estate services, or would I be the person you'd refer? And so then you're coming back around to your very friends. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay, what about your mailing item? So we're now at the 15th. So did you get your email item out, or are you doing your item of value right now? Did that just go out?
I did a bunch of Father's Day cards that had nothing to do with what we were trying to do here, but I did send out a mailing, just Father's Day cards.
Well, now that doesn't necessarily not have anything to do with what we're trying to do here, because what we're trying to do here is build relationship and get business.
Right.
So
But it wasn't the email or not an email or the second flyer or any of that. So
okay, so you're supposed, did you get your managing your credit score? That mail out was the second one. Has that gone out yet? Yeah. Okay, so that's probably on the to-do list. I just changed over. I'm in the process right now to going automated with their system, because it comes around, that 1st and 15th come around. But remember that when you're consistent, they learn to trust you. So you want to make sure and put those.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah. And by the way, Mr. Jim Rohn, if you remember him, he's such a great guy. One of his quotes that really means a lot, that I keep referring to in my career, is, if it isn't in your calendar, it doesn't exist. And so that's why when Brian sends you your initial packet and it has that big calendar on there, it's to put it in there, send the item out, prep and send it out. And so because time will get by and it doesn't get done. So that's why I'm asking you, because we're 7 weeks into a 14-week program, so about halfway, and some of these things are hard to get in the system. And so it's something just to put on your to-do list to keep it going. What about your pop-bys? Have you had an opportunity to do any pop-bys?
yes.
Yeah, awesome. Tell us, how did that go for you, David?
It went well. I went back by Teresa, the little farmer out there off of Arapahoe, and I ran into my old stepmom, and she told me that her son is potentially looking to move down here. He lives up in Empire, and he has 2 properties up there, and that he's interested in potentially selling and getting closer to Morrison or Golden, because his wife is a nurse working downtown there. So I thought,
Awesome.
well, hey, okay, that could go somewhere. So that was cool. And then she told me about her son, Frank, who's out in California, who's unfortunately dealing with a divorce. And he has some kids, so he's going through a custody thing. But if the custody thing doesn't work out in his favor, he also is going to be moving back to Colorado from Coronado. So that could be something as well in the future.
Absolutely. So you got some possible future business. You definitely have some things to write some personal notes about to
Yep.
follow up, and
Yep.
possible business. So that's fantastic. I'd love to hear that. And I'll share a couple of stories too when we get to my turn. Anybody else do any Popeyes this week?
So I haven't done them yet, Heidi, but I've got my Father's Day Popeyes all ready to go. I know exactly who I'm giving them to. I'm gonna go out either tomorrow or early on Father's Day. Some of these people I might want to see on Father's Day for a quick beverage before we go out and do stuff as a family. But I've got them ready to go. I got 10 bags ready to go.
Awesome. I can't wait to hear what appointments come out of that, because they really do. Sean, did you have a chance to do any Popeyes?
So I've been popping by people, but I don't have my little bag, or I haven't been putting together any goodies. So I don't know if that quite qualifies. So I'm gonna go with.
Well, you get face to face with people. It kind of does. They
Yeah.
like presents though. I can tell you. So we delivered 11 Popeye Father's Day bags this week. I made an extra one because I ended up with 2 people at the end. And out of the 11 Popeyes that we have 3 appointments. And so that isn't an appointment to come list your house, but it's an appointment to get together for dinner, an appointment to get together and then talk about doing a 1031 exchange with another person. And then another appointment that we have, he got the bag and he called and he wants to talk about stocks with Michael. So that's fine. But, so 3 appointments to build relationship. And possible business from those Popeyes. So you will see results from those. And so Sean, even though you weren't taking goodies, getting face to face with people just gives you the opportunity to talk. And people like to be face to face. It's so hard to talk on the phone and text and all of that. So did you have, with your popping by, did you have any luck in setting some future get-togethers or anything?
Trying to think. Not necessarily, not very specifically, no, unfortunately. But
Well, that's just this time. I mean, but just keep in mind that Popeyes create opportunities for appointments, because you can always say, I don't have time, but let's follow up and let's, because they'll almost always ask you in if they're home. Or, one of the people that we're going to meet for happy hour and dinner at the butchery in Arvada. But they wanted us to come in and have a glass of wine with them. And I'm like, well, we have a few Father's Day presents to get out, but we would love to get together with you. So let's get it on the calendar. And so we did. So that is just one way of really, it's client appreciation, because that qualifies when you're giving them something. It doesn't even have to be anything that is like expensive or anything that is extravagant. It's just little things people like. So David, tell us, what were you popping by with?
I did more Girl Scout cookies because I still have some left.
Nice.
So I had bought 21 boxes or so. So I've been slowly going through them. But it was the perfect thing because they love the Simonos, and that's the one I brought over or whatever, samosas or whatever they're called. Coconut
Our Girl Scout cookies were a hit too. They really like those Girl Scout cookies. Our Father's Day one though was, it's beef jerky and a couple of scratch tickets. And we had the little pocket tool that was in there too. So, and then our little card said, hope your Father's Day is a real winner. We spent $2 on the scratch tickets. They were each $1. And then, so I mean, the bags never cost more than about $10. So right now, I believe currently you can go to Costco and get the relish pack that everybody, that there's
the 3-pack.
Yeah, You can get that at Costco on sale right now. It's like $3 off and it's normally like $7.50. So that's significant. And you can get 10 of them. And so just a heads up, it's a good time to go get those and take them out
All right.
before the 4th of July
I
weekend.
signed up for a Costco membership the other day, so
That's worth it.
yes.
Although
was
I can't
excited.
seem to go there without dropping $300. I don't know what it is
Well,
about.
that's what I
300,
was
that's
quickly
good. I'm
realizing.
usually like 100.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I was like 300. If I go 300 every time, I'm out. I'm not going anymore.
Yeah. So, but no, I'm excited. I can get my ink toners there for a reduced price and all the other.
I don't
things
really
that
need 4 packs of bacon, but I get them every time I go there. Because it's one
Yeah.
package.
They have
You
great
can
bacon.
freeze it.
But honestly, I mean, their toner and their ink and all of those things, and then you.
Well, there's
you really-
great housewarming gifts too there.
Yes,
You know, you could
absolutely.
do a little patio set if you wanted to, or whatever. You know, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's hilarious that the pie party and the Costco Relish Pack are like nationally, maybe even internationally known. Hilarious. Well, let's dig into buyers. So I know that you guys have had a little practice working with buyers, and so I'm not sure you were on here, David, when Ray, we were congratulating him because like on his 8th offer, he got it.
Yay, Ray!
I'm
That's
not.
good.
I'm so happy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't want to take on a tangent, but like, I literally was like almost in tears. I was so happy for these guys. Like,
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm so happy for my clients, and I just it's ridiculous how happy I am for them. It's
See,
nuts.
who wouldn't want to work with a realtor like you?
Yeah.
No,
It
yes,
really
it's
cares, right?
important. It's important to be positive and have that natural
Yeah.
glow, which you have, Ray.
Thank you.
But you know what?
Yes.
It's true. It's true that we are not in it for the money, although the money's great. We as realtors, we really like to see people succeed, and we like to make a positive difference in their lives. I
All it
hear
is,
that
that's
all the
it comes
time.
down to. Not money wasn't even anywhere in my mind. It's an afterthought, like, oh, I'll make a commission off this. But like it wasn't anywhere in my mind. I just wanted to get them under contract. Like,
Yeah.
that's my only goal. That's it.
Well, I
That's
wish I could say that was the case for the majority of us, but with bills to pay.
I still have bills to pay though.
Yeah, I know you do.
Well,
And
yeah,
your
but
creditors
when
don't
that
want to hear. We're
energy's
on our
naturally
9th offer
replenished.
now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when those things don't stress you or weigh you down, then you can naturally grow that energy. You know,
Yeah.
you can really manifest that. So.
Well, when I came into the business in 1987, which was ages ago, my parents were they were the team leaders, and I came in with them. And so my dad gave me this saying, and I've kept it in front of me on my desk forever. It's on where I can see it. And it says, never approach a customer with your destiny in the palm of their hand.
Mm.
So if you ever, and that just says with commissions, when you're counting the dollars, so I love it that you said that, Ray, because when you're counting the dollars, they see it. When you
Yeah.
see them as a dollar sign, they see it too. So good job. I'm really excited for you. And so working with buyers, and he broke this down into 3 pieces. You know, you're going to show like a pro, and you are a pro now at showing. I think of in our current market, we have been able to really fine tune those buyer skills for showings and working with negotiation. So contract negotiation right now, contract negotiation is primarily important, and even being able to win an offer, right? We have been able to break down that contract to the littlest pieces to put our buyers into a winning situation. With that, let me just ask Ray, so when you went under contract with this one, was there anything that stood out that made your buyers stronger?
No, not really on this one. No. And the reason is it was just the seller had already turned down 2 perfectly good offers for whatever reason. And I think now we were up to like 8 days on the MLS, and we didn't offer much more than the agent was really upfront with me. She's like, here's the 2 offers that he turned down. My clients only wanted to offer $1,000 more than that, but with a $5,000 appraisal gap. And I thought that was good because I don't see it appraising. I think it'll appraise somewhere between that and the appraisal gap. I think, I don't think it's gonna go higher. Honestly, I felt like this conversation with the agent being so upfront with me gave me a little bit of an advantage. I was like, but listen, the seller seems like he's very difficult and he's looking for something, like maybe an unrealistic number. So I can't guarantee anything here, but let's just put it in because I don't really see. I also think, and I don't want to get too much into the other listing agent, I believe she was explaining what the seller wanted wrong. Remember how I was having that conversation with you?
Mhm.
I believe she turned off potential buyers because she explained it wrong. I
Yeah.
only went back because I spoke to you and you said, well, that's one way to do it, but you should email her and ask her to break down those numbers. And when I broke it down, it was way more simpler than she was making it out to be. And
So
that's,
just for everybody,
Yeah.
what she was saying is that the seller didn't want to pay any costs. They wanted the buyer to pick up the seller cost.
she made it sound like they wanted us to pay like commissions and all this stuff. And really all she was asking was he didn't want to do any seller concessions. And I'm like, okay, I never put in seller concessions. Like, like I don't know, I put 0 all the time. Like, I didn't tell her that. I was like, well, that's a no-brainer. So like, well, let's do it, Yeah.
Well, but I think you're right, because it did sound very confusing that they didn't want to have any seller costs. It's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? They wanted you to pick up the commission, the title, everything. And so that was good. So congratulations though, because you really did have a clean offer. You've gotten very, very experienced at the showing, the writing, and now you're under contract. So
I would say though, that the only thing that I really try to do every time is have some sort of rapport with the listing agent. Not
Mhm.
just oh, what do you got here? What are you doing? Like, it's not all business for me. I'm trying to find like a connection. If I can figure it out. I mean, she's been very personal with me too. Like, she's like, my son's getting married. I'm overwhelmed, and I'm like, I'm kind of connecting with her. I just so. I mean,
Yeah, that's a very, very good point, because with so many people making offers, as a listing agent, when you have a relationship with one of the agents, and it just, it's going to go more smoothly. They'll have
Yeah.
fewer problems, less emotion. And I don't think we really talked about that in the module, but it is so important to have that relationship. Our relationship or our reputation matters. It does. And we could lose deals for our clients because of our own behavior and our reputation. So that's very true. So building that rapport with the listing agent from the very beginning. So about what time did you start calling, Ray, to talk with the listing agent?
To that listing agent?
Mhm.
Oh, so it was actually, it was really crazy. I was looking at another house in Greeley. And actually it was an old agent that you might know, Ron Woodcock, who that
Oh,
is?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we talked about you quite frequently,
Nice.
but it turned out, and the house was really cool, but it was just like a peeled paint mess. I mean, there wasn't like a single bit of area that wasn't peeling paint. So my client's like, well, let's go look at this other one. I hadn't actually made an appointment to look at the other one. So I made an appointment on the fly, and the showing time called me and said, the agent wants you to call her directly. So I was like a mile from this property that they got into contract. She called me and said, yeah, you can go in there. I'll give you the code. So that's when I first spoke to her.
Cool.
And we chatted a bit. And then I chatted a bunch after that, just to
Good.
see what she was talking about.
Well, I think it's a really good idea. Before you're ever going to show a property, and that's why you did talk to her directly, because she would have told you when you reached her on the phone, oh, we're actually under contract, or we've got a counter in, or we have 9 offers on the table. You really want to know that before you ever take the time to take your client to the house, because they might fall in love with it and not have a chance because it's already under contract.
Yeah.
It's something that I think is part of the process, but that would be in really showing like a pro. He's got you out here, you're talking about, what the house is going to be like, but the pre-showing is making sure that it's not being negotiated currently. So he, in his video, he sort of described the house. And I liked his script though. And I found that this is something that I use even before this module, is asking people to tell us what they like about the house, what they don't like about the house. And the way I've always said is I need to know, because then I learn more about what is going to be the right house for you. And it won't hurt my feelings. It's not my house. So you just have to be really careful when you give their feedback to the seller, that they give you permission to tell the seller what they tell you. Otherwise, only give your own feedback. And there's always a story behind everything, but there's a story behind that. So be sure when you give your buyers feedback, you have their permission. And what they don't like, and because then you'll know what you're going to run into with other houses and why. And can you see yourself living here? You know, I like the way he talked about that before they went in the house. But you probably have seen, working with some of your buyers, that they're in the house. If they like it, they're trying to put their furniture in the house, right?
Yeah, you know, that's one thing he said, Heidi, and I'm new, obviously, but I've always, I mean, I might say a few things, but I always just sort of stand back and see how they're reacting. And if they're like, oh, our couch could go right there, rather than give them the direction up front, I've always stood back and just seen if they do that. And if they don't do it, I mean, sometimes they do it internally, but I've always just stood back and just watched them, is all I'm saying, as opposed to giving them the direction up front. Like, imagine your furniture here, but sometimes they can't imagine it because they know right at the bat that it's not for them, if that makes sense. And that's, I think it was good advice, but it's not how I've been treating it, is what I'm saying.
Well, I think they'll tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And then also, you know, can you see yourself living here? Is, you know, that I think is a really important question.
That's a great question, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, when they're in there, you've got to, I think it's important to say, you know, you don't know whether the seller's decorating style is going to be something that you like or something you don't. But remember, they're taking their things with them. So try to visualize the home without the seller's things. And it goes both ways, good and bad, as he was saying. So that was something that I think is a good add-on to that script, is to try to imagine the house without the seller's things in it. Because sometimes all they do is see the seller's things, and that's why we tell our sellers to declutter and get it as clean looking as possible so people can visualize themselves there. And so what do you think about, do you have any problem, like in Ray, you were saying that you kind of stand back and give them their space, right?
Yeah.
You sort of let them sort of talk it out, and then.
I'm usually following them around a little bit, unless I feel like they need a little more space, but I just kind of see how they're reacting. That's what I'm doing.
Right. And asking questions. And did you notice he said, don't project your own personal opinion? Because I run into that before too, where I said that I didn't like something and somebody was like, oh, we really like it. And I'm like, oops, I didn't lose the client. They did not like me anymore, but I'm like, wow, okay. I'm not going to say it anymore. And so
interesting, Heidi. My clients that are in California, I've done some video walkthroughs with them because they're not here, and I do tell them straight up, because they're not there. I said, listen, I'm voicing a little bit of my opinion because you're not here to smell the smell that I'm smelling right now. So you can't smell it. So I'm just telling you what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
Ultimately, though, it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what you think. But I'm telling you right now, it does not smell good in here, and it's turning me off from this basement. You know, like you can't smell it from where you're at, but it's horrible. And I know that's my opinion, but I always preface it by that. That's my opinion, though. You may find it different.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. I mean, you can't smell a video.
Yeah. I walked into a basement the other day. I had to cover my mouth and nose. It was so bad. I was like, "Ooh." I don't know what was going on down there. It was terrible.
Good.
That's terrible. And you run into that sometimes with smoke, with cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of those things, but also the outdoors. So there's some neighborhoods around here that are close to waste management plants. And I used to manage a facility that was close to a plant, and nobody could go outside to barbecue there on certain days. It stunk so bad. So that's another thing they can't smell. And they just built new homes between where I used to manage and the plant. So I'm like, I won't sell a house in that neighborhood. I will tell people, hope you don't like to barbecue.
Like you and
You buy
Candela,
here.
you can't see radiation, but it's there.
Yeah, right. That's true. But smell is sort of, I mean, it's a big one. It's a big one. So as far as, you know, being emotionally neutral, one of the things I noticed at the end, he was getting their measurements on, you know, how they were feeling about that particular home. So what do you think is different though in our current market about how we have to do it right now?
Seems like there's no real time or room to really massage it the way he's intending us to massage this. It's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like, hey, does it hit box A, B, and D? And we got 4 out of 5. Let's go get the offer ready.
We have until 6 o'clock to get the offer in.
Right, right. There's no like, let's sit down and think about it and visualize and all the things. Now, obviously, the more they're experienced to seeing this home, this home, this home, this home, and make a decision,
Yeah.
the quicker they start to come around to some of those corners if it's important to them, you know. But
That's true. But do you
Otherwise-
find that they're asking you about the value? Are you doing the CMA or the RPR report or one of
I
those?
did do
things?
them for my buyers. I did do them for my buyers just to show them that I knew how to and that we're not in left field on this, you know, and here's why it's a fair offer to be a little bit over and all of this. So.
I mean, my buyers, it seems are all FHA, and so I'm definitely seeing what definitely doing the CMAs to see where we're at, because and they only have a $5,000 appraisal gap. It doesn't make any sense to over offer if they can't pay it anyway, if it's never going to appraise there.
And it says they may have to lose the first house. How about they may have to lose the first 5, 6, 7?
Ah, I have some cousins that are in town. I know you know this, but they're they're okay looking at a couple houses and just putting an offer in, even if they don't get it. They just want to go through
Yeah.
the process. And I'm like, well, you could get it though, but I mean, let's do it. Let's go out and put something in. Let's find a house.
Hey, yeah, maybe they'll find the one they want.
Yeah.
Well, I liked the part at the back, you know, the whole transaction process and yes, it's one thing when you're new, right? You've already been through a transaction, so you know that staying calm, you had some issues in your first transaction with inspection. That's usually where they come up. I know, David, you've had, and Sean, you've been in the business a while, so we know that there's always going to be a problem, right? That's what he said in the module. We just don't know what that problem's going to be. And sometimes if you find the house that's too easy, the problem comes later. You're like, uh-oh, what's it going to be? It's very rare that you get through an entire transaction without a problem, although I have had it once or twice in my 35 years, once or twice. But there's usually a problem, and that's why that is why we get paid what we get paid. We work for our money. And it's not always writing offers. It feels like you're working your rear end off before you're even under contract. But the actual work and where we really earn our money is keeping the deal and negotiating to the end. So you've got to negotiate through inspection. That's the second choice, really. It's like going under contract again, because they either get out or they don't. And when you do the inspection, it kind of uncovers all the problems. So it's sort of, it kind of puts a damper on the happiness. You know what I'm saying? So it's very rare that you run into a house, new or resale, that doesn't have any inspection issues. And you just have to remember that those are things that can be taken care of. And what did you think about the so that dialogue? So when he says, I understand you're frustrated with this situation. Okay, that could be getting through, actually it could be a seller getting through an inspection, but it could also be a buyer trying to get through inspection, or whatever it is that has gone wrong. Just so you know, we're not only going to take care of the problem for you, but we're going to do it in such a way so that long after this transaction is closed, you'll be referring me to your friends and family.
I feel like it's a gaudy double down position, because if they're really upset, you're kind of making light of how upset they are. I think validation is key. So the understanding the frustrating, maybe even aligning with a few of the words they've used in frustration, and then trying to bridge the situation to be a better outcome, you know? And then once you get through the problem, then you can say, hey, we got through that problem. You know, I hope you guys
But I think
grow the
honestly,
future with me, you know, da 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 da. But that's my opinion. It doesn't mean
well,
it's right.
and I know it's your opinion, but I'm going to tell you why Buffini has a different one, is because you always want them to think of referring you. And at that point, when they're mad at you, they might be thinking, we would never use this agent again. And so you're going to say, I'm going to fix this problem in such a way so that you want to use me again. You will be happy. That is my goal, is to make you happy so that you want to refer your friends and family. And it might be just the script has to be a little more comfortable for you. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's what I sort of see both sides of it. I tell my clients all the time, hey, we lost that deal. We're gonna get you under contract. I'm sure of it. Just we're gonna make it happen, all this stuff. This script sounds a little bit like I'm promising maybe something I can't
You gotta
promise.
be careful with that.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The way it's
Yeah.
written. So I would probably adjust it a little bit, but I get why it's there. I see it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
we
now
can
that you
always-
make that point, it's very clear that, yeah, when you're at a point of
Yeah.
conflict with your relationship and your client's relationship, then yes, you do need to put some sort of mortar on the wall, and then, so I see both sides of what you're saying, Heidi,
And I've been doing this a long time, okay? 35 years. There are going to be problems on almost every deal, okay? So you might not be comfortable with exactly the way that this has been said, but I've been saying this script for many, many years. And mine just went something like this. Wow, this problem really doesn't feel good, but I want you to know that getting it fixed is my priority. I do most of my business by referral, and I wouldn't want to lose your referrals. And so you can trust that I'm going to work hard to get this fixed for you.
See, that's 30 years of experience. That sounded so beautiful.
It's
You
just,
know?
you have to make it your own, but you don't want to lose the parts. That's the
Right,
important
it's the
thing.
key. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I do love hearing you say that, Heidi, and I love watching Buffini Brian do his little script, because I'm gonna steal everything and make it my own in some way. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna watch you. And that's one of the things I miss. I'm in the office now. I'm not, when I hear people here, I'm not trying to eavesdrop, and I'm overhearing your conversations, maybe how you're talking to a client on the phone.
I love
I'm
that.
just not getting that right now, but I can't wait for that to happen more.
That is one of the best reasons to be in the office
Yeah.
for in my opinion.
I'm all
When I
alone.
was down
upstairs.
there,
David's not here. You're not here.
Oh,
Nobody's
we're coming.
here.
We'll be there in a bit. No.
I was in there a bunch this last week and I didn't see you, Ray, but that's because you were out writing offers.
I was here yesterday and I'm here today, so it's good.
There you go.
Oh,
meet at
well,
the happy hour,
I
by
think
the
it's
way.
just great we can be in the office again. So when I was talking to my Buffini coach yesterday, they only opened up where they could go places without a mask yesterday. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
yeah, and he's in California, but yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate here in Colorado, I think, because our numbers are good and we're healthy and we're actually kind of getting back to
Understand
normal. Yeah, it's really cool.
Just for the record, it's about 1,000 degrees upstairs. if you do come over here today, it's really hot. I got my door open because it's cooler in the hallway.
Well, I tell you, I have to get used to it because, I have my parents that live in the basement.
Yeah.
And, old people they get cold easily.
Oh yeah.
So I have to keep my air at about 78.
Oh, that's funny.
I know it's hot.
You're a good child.
My
I
good
mean, to
mom.
your parents.
From my parent
My
baby.
mom lives in the basement. She's always cold.
Oh,
as well.
that's right. You do.
And
have
I
your
was
mom.
like, I have about 14-year-old daughter. I was like, you can switch rooms with Kaylee if you want. I'm sure she'd be happy to take over the basement. She's like, no, I'll deal with it. I like the basement. Yeah.
Well, I did get space heaters down there, so
Yeah.
it could help. But they would keep throwing the breaker into
Yeah. Oh yeah. Really do that? That's terrible.
the house. Is like, what are you doing? Hot, cold, hot,
Yeah.
cold. Anyway, but it is hot. It is hot, and I can't wait until we get a little break because it makes things really, really tough,
I
especially.
saw an AC guy here yesterday though. I should have. I don't know. If they fixed it.
Yeah, we got to find a new HVAC guy. So one thing I want to mention before we go over the homework and stuff for this is that in the inspection, when he was talking about don't lose over minor issues, this has been something now we don't have as much of it in this current market because we don't have a lot of inspection negotiation right now, right? The buyers are pretty much taking as is unless it's a major deal. But when we get down to just a normal market, and let's say they are fighting over the seller doesn't want to clean and service the furnace or something stupid like that. Or, let's just say, let's break it down. They're fighting over something that's $1,000 to $2,000. And you have to ask the question, would you want to lose this house over this $1,000 to $2,000? How would you feel if you woke up tomorrow morning and the house was gone? Would that 1,000 or 2,000 been worth it to you? So you have to ask that question because a lot of times they just fight over the little stuff and then it's like, wait a minute, you're going to lose the whole house over $500? I've seen it so many times, right? And so you have to keep them into reality. Just, are you going to lose a house over a $500 thing? They're thinking, they're buying a $600,000 house, but is it really the $500 thing you're going to let it go for? So do you want to buy the house now for $500 if they have to pay for it? Or do you want to lose it for $500? So anyway, that is something that I've come across time and time again to remind them of the actual, the minimal amount that it usually is. Now, if we're looking at a $30,000 structural repair, that's a different deal, right? But if it just needs new screens on the windows, $500, right? So, so homework for this week. So we've got our calls to catch up on, definitely working on that. And then I wanted to make sure that you all knew about the Buffini's mid-year update. Are you guys signed up for that one?
No.
Okay, so you will see it in the blast the email blast that comes out on Monday. Buffini's bold predictions, mid-year predictions. It's always really good, and he's doing that from 10 to 12. So when you see that email blast, just click on the link, and it's free to log in. But I always find really valuable information when I attend and listen to his updates. So that I would say to sign up for that, we'll add that to your list. Your personal notes and your pop-bys. So what a great time to pop by right before the 4th of July, right before Father's Day. And I can't wait to hear about the appointments that you get when you're doing it. Have you guys had some luck adding people to your database?
Yeah.
Good. So have we. I added 10 people last week. Now I'm like, yay! Right? And then we did sign up for BombBomb as part of our CRM. So sending a video message to your database. You can do that one-on-one just with your phone. I don't know how to do group texting a video. I know there is an app for that. But we just signed up for it with Buffini because you can do it right out of the CRM. It's either one person or all of them. So that's kind of fun. And then hopefully you'll be able to meet some people and set up a breakfast or lunch or happy hour or something like that this week when you're doing your Popeyes. I can't wait to hear about your appointments because I have a feeling that it's going to go really well for you. One comment on that. We have found that we are finding more people home, more people are calling us to thank us that we came by, and more people want us to come in and chat and just have together time right now. People have been lonely. So don't be surprised. Like, I was so excited. I knocked on this door, right? And usually when you're knocking on the door, they don't want to see you, right? They think it's a solicitor. And so the lady, Chandra, she opens the door and she has that look on her face like, what does this person want? And then she sees me and she's like, oh, I'm so happy. And I was like, that is such a good feeling when you knock on the door and you're like, oh. But that's the way it's becoming because we've been doing Popeyes for about 2 to 3 years now. And so when people see us coming, they actually get excited, which is fun. You hate it when people run when they see you coming.
Do you stick with the same people typically when you do Popeyes, or do you switch it up every month?
So you always want to take care of your A+ people. We have 14 A+ people, and so we hit them usually every 2 months for our A+ people. And I think Buffini says every 30 days on that. Our coach is stepping it up for us. We're finding. So, but then your A+, yeah. And remember that Buffini had 18 A+, and he got 40% of his business from them, and 40% from his business to business people. So think of them too when you're going out and doing your Popeyes. Those business to business people are great resources. Yeah. So, okay. So prepare your buyer packet. I think you probably have that one down, but he's got some good things in here. I noticed in our resources, there were a couple things. Did you see that winning words? It's a really nice piece on just not really neuro-linguistic programming, but just words that are positive and confirming and just, feel good. So that is in those resources too. And I
I'm
just want to
realizing
congratulate. What's that?
I said, I'm realizing there's a lot in the resources, and I take notes after every lesson, but I don't really go in and look at the resources because I'm busy. But I mean, there's I every note. I mean, if you look at every lesson, I have a star like check out these resources. That sounds great. I just haven't gone in there yet. Although
Well,
I know the words because he showed it on the video. But I mean,
yeah, and then like the buyer, the resources that the mistakes and the questionnaire and all of the pathway, all of these things are great resources for us. And just remember that you want to make sure that you get to all those resources if you don't continue as a member going forward, because at the end of the program, you don't have access to them unless you continue as a member. You probably want to. I wouldn't want to give it up. We gave up so many things because this works, then we saved money. But you got to do what's right for you. And if it's working, then don't give it up. So next week we have part 1 of working with a seller. And this should be pretty good. I mean, I think, right now, working with a seller is not as difficult as it is in a market that's a little bit more of a buyer's market. In a seller's market, you're pretty much going to sell that property. But in a buyer's market, imagine a graph, an X and Y graph, okay? You start your listing up here. This is the love factor. This is the time factor. So you start out at the beginning of time with lots of love. But as time goes on, the love goes down. And so you want to get that under contract before the love goes down. And so that is something. It's a thing. And so when we talk about sellers, try to, how we say, imagine a vacant property, well, you're going to have to imagine a different market. When the seller really wants to get their property under contract and they're, your showings are maybe once every couple of weeks for a showing. So that market does exist. And so we're going to get polished at working with the seller. Like I said, I've been in this business since 1987, and I've seen seller, buyer, buyers. The market never stays the same. Although I do think that this seller's market that we've had since about 2012 is the longest I've ever seen. Usually 7 to 8 years is the cycle, but this has really been quite a long time for a seller's market. But have a great week, and if there's anything I can do for you, just you know where to find me, and we'll be talking about sellers next week.
Good. Thank you, Heidi.
thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.